Hey YouTube, Dan Otto here coming at you with teams and rankings for the Holiday Cup Great League Edition. So today there's Ultra League and Holiday Great League Edition, and I think they actually did a really good job with this meta. I've mentioned multiple times, I hate 1 to 2 typing metas because it just really limits it. And Open, the way that Open works right now is that it's also very limited with Flyers, Steals, Metachamp. Like it's a combo that goes in circles there, so it's kind of limited. This is a really good meta. So it's a 1500 CP. It is normal, grass, electric, ice, flying, and ghost. So what I really like about this is, one, you get rid of sort of the main, I call them the main typings, which is the steel, right? So no Galarian Stunfisk, no Bastion, and you get rid of the fighting and no psychic. So like Medchamp, gone. And when you get rid of those, it allows some of these secondary typings like electric and ice to come into play more. So what you normally see Noctowl, because Noctowl can sort of deal with everything in the Great League, now because electric and ice aren't going to be as checked with like Galarian Stunfisk, they can now roam more free and deal with Noctowl, which is why Noctowl is not even in the top 20 right now. So I think this meta is going to be very, very good. So what we're going to do is just going to go over the meta, what it looks like and why, and then I got 5 teams. What I really like about this is I could have made more than 5 teams. There are so many viable Pokemon in this meta that are going to have play against one another. So I'm interested to see what the meta looks like when it starts to narrow. But for right now, I think it's wide open. So I'm going to put them into just categories. So I'm going to start with the rock type Pokemon. So Aurorus is number 1. The baby version is number 15. And Graveler at number 10. And I think with so much ice, Aurorus is half ice at that. But with so much ice and flying combo, being able to have rock type users that just resist flying and will like one-shot ice is going to be strong. So I think Aurorus having both rock and ice is going to be very, very, very powerful. Plus there's like I said, there's no fighting in this. There are, like, I'll go over double and vigor out in a second. There are counter users or fighting fast move users. So it's not like it's going to go unchecked, but having just the flexibility to do that is great. And then Graveler, Stone Edge, and Rock Plus going to be great for all those sort of ice and flyers out there. So those are the rocks. Let's go into the electrics because it's number 2. No, I'm going to butcher this. Toga Damaru as 2, Pachirisu at 8, Magnezone at 12, and Luxray at 20. And these are the type of things where it's like, okay, you know there's some water in here, like a Lantern. Well, I guess Lanterns have electric too. But the Wild Charge is going to one-shot. So, and Gyro Ball is actually a pretty hard-hitting move too. Are going to just one-shot so many things. And again, there's no like pure ground in this either. So a lot of the pure, like the super effective attacks Pokemon aren't going to be able to check this and this like to resist and stuff like that. So I think electric, we're going to have a lot of play. A lot of these Pokemon you're just going to use as sort of like nuke. Get shields down and then nuke here. Let's go into double and Vigoroth because they're at the normal type and they are both incredible safe swaps in this because there are not a lot of, both are weak to counter. There's not a lot of counter users in this. There's not going to be a ton of viable ghosts that can just like sort of wall their fast move. Plus you have payback on double anyways. So you're going to see on a couple of teams, I put double on one, Vigoroth on another, like insane safe swaps. Like if you have both, quite honestly, I think they're going to be just deadly in this meta. So I would use these Pokemon as safe swaps. Let's go to sort of the odd ones out here. Lantern at 4, Obstagoon at 5, Altaria at 6. All have play. Just Lantern still, again, super strong. You tons of ice, you're going to resist. Lots of flyers, you're electric. There's some grass, but there's not a lot of just pure grass in there because of how much ice there is, right? So there's not going to be a ton of grass, so you can kind of get away with that. So Lantern's looking pretty good. Obstagoon, again, the no pure fairies. Well, there is like I was looking through the rankings and there's a Ninetales running charm, but like other than that, not a lot of fairies. Very few counter users, like double Vigoroth are basically your kind of only ones. So your 2 biggest weaknesses right there, not there. So Night Slash goes fast. Cross Chop for all the ice, looking good. Altaria is an interesting one because there is so much. I mean, electric you're only neutral to because you're half dragon. But there's a lot of ice, yet it's ranked so high because and rock, right? There's a lot of your weaknesses ranked so high. but you're bulky. Dragon Breath does a ton of damage. No steals, like no Bastiodon, no Glaring Sunfist to worry about. So those two big things are out. It's still got a lot of play. Abomasnow, I'll just put it in here. I know it's an ice with the rest of them, but just that secondary grass typing really helps it out to be able to do just kind of just coverage, right? That's some of these other ice. Like let's go into all the other ice now. Cast Form, Sandslash, Ninetales is running. Well, that one's running Charm. I said Regice, Walrein. Like a lot of these Pokemon do have secondary moves of like Earthquake and Bulldoze and Psyshock and stuff like that. But for the most part, they're not. I don't want to say they're not hard hitting because they are hard hitting moves. But they're such like nukes and energy, take a lot of energy, and a lot of these are non-stab. I think that's the big thing, right? It's a non-stab Earthquake, it's a non-stab Bulldoze, it's a non-stab Psyshock. Whereas opposed to Energy Ball and Weather Ball are both stab because Abomasnow is ice and grass. But yeah, ice is going to have a ton of play in this meta. There's no real fire to check it. There's not a lot of counter users to check it, right? So ice should be pretty good in this meta. And then Charizard. Wing Attack gives it some play. Again, there's tons of ice, so Blast Burn will be good. You're still taking neutral because you're half flying. Just electric. Electric can be everywhere. So if you run into an electric Pokemon that resists Wing Attack, or you run into a Magnezone, well, I guess you can Blast Burn Magnezone, but like not before it gets to the Wild Charge, probably. So those are the rankings. Let's go over some teams here. So what I did was I just started with like, let's start with Aurorus. So that big, I don't know why PVPoke does this, but Aurorus is going to do neutral against Aurorus. It's not actually a loss there. But for the most part, like, because you're half rock, you're going to beat a lot of the other ice Pokemon. Ninetales, Abomasnow, Frostlass. You're going to deal with like Walrein. You're going to deal with all the flyers and Pidgeot and stuff like that. Good neutral matchups, pretty spammy. Good neutral matchups across the board. Weakness, you're weak to water, so Lantern. You're weak to fighting, so Double and Vigoroth are going to cause you issues. So Lantern dealt with most of them. So I think Aurora's Lantern core is going to be like, there's two losses to Lantern here. Like Lantern will be neutral there. So I think if you have Double, the Lantern Aurora's core is probably going to be pretty strong. And then I just put it through and save swap Double. Like there's no hard losses for Double. It's got so many wins. Even these losses are like soft losses because it's just so fast on the body slam spam. Payback for cover, like nuke sort of coverage move. So I think like Aurora's Lantern core plus like a safe swap Double Vigoroth is going to be pretty strong overall, quite honestly. So team number 2 here, we have, so I start with Vigoroth because I'm like, you know what, I know it's going to be an amazing safe swap, like Double, and the same sort of thing, right? No hard losses, lots of good wins against the top. Look at that top tier Aurorus, the Electrical on Double, Lantern, Obstagoon, the Graveler, the Ice, right? You hit super effective on Ice, as long as it's not like a Flyer or Charmer. Body Slam spam is real. There's not a lot of fighting in here to beat you as your only sort of weakness. So Vigoroth, honestly, Vigoroth should be probably on everyone's team because it is so strong in this meta. Where you're going to be weak, Ghost and Flyers, right? Because the Flyers and Ghost will both resist the counter, and Frostlass in particular will resist the Body Slam. So cover that with a Graveler for those sort of losses here. And then I need a third. And Altaria, again, this is where Altaria is so tricky because Altaria's got bulk. It's going to do good against like everything that's not like, even like electric, you're still going to be okay because the Dragon Breath does the most of the damage and Moonblast coverage is still fine. Where you're going to have problems is like the ice, Walrein, because you're double weak to ice, right? Because you're a Flyer and a Dragon. So Walreins and Abomasnows and Ninetales with Charm and like Altaria is one of those hit and miss. So if you don't want, the reason why I put it in, that's why I put it in. You're technically double weak to Fighter here, right? So I would lead Altaria, and if you get hit with a Walrein or something, come in with one of these two, which will do like Vigoroth or Graveler, which will do fine against it. Pull out a Fighter, pull out the weakness here, and then Altaria should be able to punish and get to a move and stuff like that. So this is an ABB style team, just kind of in reverse order. Altaria should be the lead if you're going to run an ABB style team here. Third team, I'm like, I'm not going to pronounce the name again, but this little ball of electricity was one of the top ranked, and for good reason. Like look at Charizard, when you have flyers and sort of water ice in here, an electric Pokemon is going to be pretty good. And it looks like just not a lot of hard punishes, even in the losses, are not like hard losses, it looks like. So good coverage. And then you need something for, it looks like counter users and double and Obstagoon and Vigoroth. And I was going through, and Lurantis was one. And I just used Lurantis. You're going to see a video next week for the Ultra League, because Ultra League is also on right now. You're going to see Lurantis in the Ultra League. And I think it's got a lot of play in this meta too. The problem is like fire and ice, because it is a grass type Pokemon. But it knows like, if it's a fast move, not Fury Cutter. It's got a bug type fast move with Leaf Blade, I believe is a charge move, and Superpower, right? So you're going to have Superpower for the Obstagoon and the Vigoroth, and you're going to have a grass type move for all these other Pokemon. So it's pretty nice coverage overall. Charizard's tough because, again, grass and fighter, you're not going to have anything for it, but you have an electric, and that's why I put Dunsparce in as the third, because Dunsparce, again, is going to be one of those Pokemon, not a lot of counter users, pretty spammy, rock, tons of flyer, tons of ice. So the rock type fast move, and fast move is just for like charging, but fast type charge move plus a drill run sort of coverage for electric on the charge move there is going to be pretty good. So I think Dunsparce is going to have a lot of play in this meta too. And that's why, like, I just keep saying Aurora's going to have a ton of play. Lantern will have a ton of play. Vigoroth's going to have a ton of play. Dunsparce's going to have a ton of play. There's going to be so many things that are just going to have a lot of play in this meta, which is why I like this meta. Like, I like metas that allow you to have a lot of play with a lot of different Pokemon. Obstagoon, same sort of thing. No charm, no real charm, not a lot of counter users. So you're going to lose some, but otherwise you're going to do pretty well overall. Cover those sort of losses with Charizard, because you're like the other counter users are going to beat you because you're double weak to fighting. So Charizard is just a nice answer to those counter users. So good coverage on the board. And then a third, I put in Stunfisk just for, it's one of those, like, your main losses. Like, so Charizard was your one weak, not weakness, because you go into a neutral there. But Stunfisk is an interesting one because, like, having an electric type, again, there's not a lot of grass, right? There's not a ton of grass in this meta, which is one of your main weaknesses. There's not a ton of water in this meta, which is another weakness. You're ground, so you'll resist all the rock type moves. There is a lot of ice, which you're weak to as well, but you have electric, you spam quickly. So I think Stunfisk, again, is an interesting one. I'm not sold on it, but I think it's going to have a decent amount of play in this meta. And then the last one we'll go to is, again, you can put Luxray, which is, okay, there's a lot of X's here, which means wins. I'm wondering how much of this is bait dependent, because what I've got to imagine is a lot of this is baiting your Psychic Fangs to lower your opponent's defense and then wild charging nuke them. So I think my buddy always calls it a Sims hero, which is basically a simulation hero, which says like, oh yeah, in this battle they're gonna fall for the bait, shield the Psychic Fangs, and then their defense is gonna lower, and then you're gonna one-shot wild charge. I still think it's gonna have a ton of play for all the reasons that we talked about. It's a pure electric, so it's gonna resist a lot of these moves. Wild charge is still a nuke, so it's still gonna hurt a lot of these Pokemon. So just get to 2 wild charges too. Shield once, 2 wild charges, you're probably gonna be looking in a good spot. Very, 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 very glassy. So if it's that glassy, I'm going to put in a tanky Pokemon that actually has decent amount of play here as well. Because again, there's some normal typings out there, and Obstagoon could be a big issue, but like not a ton of fighters as your main weakness here. So Lickitung should have pretty good play as like a safe swap too. But again, why wouldn't you use you may use Lickitung as a safe swap? I just like, I guess body slam spam is real, but like Obstagoon, Vigoroth, double, a lot of these counter users that are going to also resist your licks are going to put you in a pretty tough situation. But that's why you have also Gliscor, because Gliscor is a half flyer. So that will do well to cover all those sort of counter users that you're weak to. Super weak to ice, because I think you're a flyer and a ground. So you're double weak to ice. Aurorus, Abomasnow, yeah, Sandslash, Walrein, everything that's double weak to ice, all of the pure ice types is going to cause you a lot of trouble. So make sure you cover those weaknesses. Again, Luxray can one-shot, Licktung's just tanky enough to absorb, and kind of body slam spam, so you should be okay there. Anyways, that is it. I'm looking forward to this meta. Like I said, there's so many different Pokemon. Look at the other ones I didn't even cover. Frostlass as an ice ghost, I think is nice coverage just in neutral situations. Galvantula is another electric that won't get walled. Skarmory, right? If you want a flyer that also sort of neutralizes the ice and the rock with steel, Skarmory is probably going to have a play that you're not going to get walled by Galarian Stunfisk or Bastiodon, right? So I think there's so many different combos of teams that you can use for this. So that is it. Let me know in the comments below what other teams you are thinking about using. And that is it. So this is going up Thursday, so now it's just kind of a message for those who are subscribed to me, because this is going up Thursday. I'll play a bunch of games tonight for a video tomorrow on this league Friday. And I've already done I've got 4 teams saved already for Ultra League, and I want to do a couple in this too. So you may get, I know it's the holiday break too. It's Christmas. I'm going back to Hamilton. So I'm going to have 7 or 8 videos between 4 or 5 Ultra League and maybe 3 or 4 teams of this. So just watch out. I'll always post Saturday sort of 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, because that's when I always post my normal videos. But check back around sometime between 2 to 4 Eastern Standard Time most days, because you may get a double dose just because I have so many videos to upload before next week rolls around. Anyways, that is it. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.